You might have seen a mini series on GMBN of myself trying to get ready and doing some training for a round of the EWS this year. But there's been a question lingering in my head for a little time now, let's call it the Sam Hill effect, is what pedals should I use, flats or clips? Now I know we've done flats versus clips before on GMBN, but bear with me for this one because this is a question that I really want to answer for myself personally. So I raced downhill for 15 years, completely on flat pedals. I rode my trail bike on flats. I rode a lot of dirt jumps, so that was it, end of story, I rode flat pedals. I then retired, had a year off, came back and then raced Enduro, and I felt like it was completely necessary to learn how to ride clips for that, just for the pedaling, those big laps, and that's what I've done for the last 5 years probably, is pretty much ride clips. But then Sam Hill's come along and he does things differently. He showed to me that you can win Enduro World Series on flat pedals, something I thought was impossible. So it's time for me to find an answer for myself. I've got two different trails here, one flatter and more pedally where the horsepower is going to matter. And then I've got a steeper, more technical trail. I'm going to put some times in, try and answer the question for myself personally, what should I be running? Okay, so back onto the clips. I've been riding all morning on flat pedals and it actually felt really good. Felt nice and loose on the bike. Felt like I could really push on, drift a bit and actually dab if I had to super quick. So I ride clips probably 80% of the time nowadays, so it does feel a bit more natural to me to jump back onto them, but it's time to put it against the clock. Right, okay, so I did the test yesterday. In total, I did 4 runs, so 2 on flats, 2 on clips, on 2 different tracks. I did it on my Nukeproof Mega, so it's a carbon fibre enduro race bike really. 165mm travel, 27.5 inch wheels. It's the bike that Sam Hill races, obviously won the EWS last year on this bike. So track 1 was quite flat and pedally at the top with some jumps, and then it went into a fresh section at the bottom. Not a track that I'd ridden before, so I did a few practice runs on that. It was loamy, multiple line choices, and a proper enduro section. And then track 2 is one that I've ridden lots of times. I've done some time testing on there before, so I knew that really well. Again, quite flat at the top, quite pedally, and then it went into a hard pack, rough section at the bottom that's super fast. I definitely felt the difference between the pedals. I felt like I could be pretty loose and fast on flat pedals, especially in the stuff that I've not ridden before, where I didn't mind about getting the bike sliding sideways and dabbing. I definitely feel fast on the flats. However, when it comes to the pedaling sections, especially when I'm trying to pedal over things like rollers or rough sections, it definitely feels safer on clips. I know that I'm not going to bounce off pedals. And even though I've got the sticky soles, I've got the crank bar stamp pedals, loads of grip, I still do find that occasionally when I'm hitting sections that are really rough, I do have to adjust my feet a little bit. Even if I'm taking my foot off in a corner, trying to get my foot back on and planted in exactly the right spot, doesn't always happen. So I am shuffling a little bit, and that you just don't get on clips. You're either in or you're out. So enough of the opinion, let's talk about the times, because that's what really matters when it comes to racing, of course. So on track number 1, that's the one with the fresh cut bottom. I was actually a second faster on the clips. I've got to say, it did feel like I had a slightly better run. I nailed a really good line at the bottom on the clips. So I'm accounting that probably down to that line rather than the pedals, but still actually really close, so 211 to 212. But on the other trail, so the hard pack track that I know super well, this is quite surprising actually. I was 7 seconds faster on the flat pedals. So that is the one that does involve quite a lot of pedaling at the top. It's all hard pack, and actually at the bottom it's really rough. It's one that the bike does take quite a punishing, and to be 7 seconds faster on the flat pedals definitely surprised me. So overall, I was 6 seconds faster on the flat pedals, and that's a big difference for me if we're talking about only 3 or 4 minutes of racing. And actually, I felt super confident on the flat pedals, and I think that's a decider for me. I'm gonna try and ride the EWS finale on flat pedals, and actually I'm gonna leave my flats on and try and practice as much as I possibly can. It's the first time I've really ridden downhill on flats in quite a while, and it did take a little bit of getting used to, but it was fast. So if we break down those times a little bit more, the top flat pedal section of run 2, I was actually 2 seconds faster on the flat pedals, which is really surprising for me. It didn't feel like that at all. But my biggest concern when it comes to racing enduro on flat pedals is the fitness side of things. If we're talking about the EWS finale that I'm going to do, that's 4 big days of riding, could be 200 kilometers. That's going to take a serious amount of fitness, and on flat pedals I feel like it's going to be a little bit harder. So personally, I need to tick off the fitness to feel a bit more confident about doing that. And I might even run the Sam Hill handguards. That might be the recipe for success. So obviously this test is completely personal to me and my bike and the trails I'm riding. Sam Hill has proved that it does work. However, he is definitely in the minority. In fact, is he the only person riding flat pedals that I can think of at EWS? He probably is. But my personal background is I rode flats for so long that I think for me, this might be the way to go, but it doesn't necessarily mean that flats are the way to go for everyone riding enduro. If you want to see a video of me trying to get ready to race at EWS, click up there for that one. And if you want to see a pro version of this bike, Sam Hill's Pro Bike Check over there. Give us a thumbs up if you like this and hit that sub button.